Breeze Nation, what is good? It's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love to another edition of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. As always, man, we got squad in the building.
Yeah.
As always, man, the pettiest man alive, Mr. P Kid, Mr. Media himself, Jordan JC. We got a lot to get into on today's episode. Bears make a couple of hires. One, a very interesting hire. Maybe going the Declan Doyle path a little bit.
Oh, Declan.
So we got to talk about that. And another topic that I do want to have, right? If we're willing to go all in on Myles Garrett,
here we go.
Is there a different option that could be a cheaper but still impactful option that you would want to see the Bears go with? I've got an interesting one, actually, and it involves still trading some pieces, but in the draft. We'll talk about that. Bulls looking to keep Lonzo Ball. What the hell? And the Bulls. Dog, I saw that come across. I was just like,
hey, really? Hey, you know what that means?
3 years of just no knee, and you like,
hey,
oh,
man.
he's back. Like,
hey, no, you know what that means? There was no trade partner. Anyway, moving on.
I mean,
new
listen,
knees, new me, baby.
Hey, I guess that is that's one word for it. New knees, new me. We're gonna keep y'all all. We gonna keep that going. All that and more in today's episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do, boys. What's going on, my guys? How y'all feeling, man?
Man, it's a Tuesday. It's a gloomy Tuesday, but we out.
It is gloomy. You ain't lying.
It's supposed to be snowing all night long. I don't know how I feel.
Don't you give me that? I don't
know
like
how I
that.
feel about that.
I'll tell you all this right now. I get my money up. I'm moving.
Yeah, you Indiana and snow ain't it?
Dog.
Oh, you are in Indiana. I forgot. You're not actual Chicago.
I'm leaving the Midwest.
Oh, I mean, bye.
Out of here, dog.
Hey, man.
You going to Zona?
Hey, I sing the Chicago mantra every single year.
Yeah.
We don't have earthquakes. We don't have hurricanes. We don't have rattlesnakes.
Yep, I'm good.
I think I can live with a rattlesnake.
I can take care of the code.
Hey, till you get bit by a rattlesnake. Hey. Watch your feet. Hey, we went down to Tennessee one year. Legit, we went down to Tennessee for a vacation. And you know me, I watch a lot of animal shows. So I'm down there. I'm just like, hey man, listen, watch out for cottonmouths, watch out for this. And everybody was like, you're just crazy. I was like, so I'm dead serious. Check your shoes. Yeah. I'm not taking nobody to the hospital for them to die on the way. You ain't got time. Like we don't move that quick. Man, let's talk a little bit of football here.
Safari expert over here.
Hey, listen, I watch a lot of Animal Planet, man. I love nature shows. I go to sleep. It sounds crazy. I've said this on the show. It sounds crazy.
What?
If there's a British man talking over a documentary in the middle of the night, I'm knocked. Oh,
David Attenborough, ASMR.
If there's a David Attenborough, you know who it is. If there's a David Attenborough on the documentary, I'm knocked out, bro. Stop playing with me, man.
Crazy.
Hey, let's talk a little bit of football.
I hate
man.
the fact that that's so like such a real thing because it's like any British actor, if they just talk slow enough. Like Michael Caine, if you hear Michael Caine narrating the book, it's a wrap.
Yeah,
good call.
Yeah,
it's a good name. Hey, that's the white Morgan Freeman right there.
Good name. See, this is the worst part, right? This is the worst part. Morgan Freeman narrated. It wasn't Planet Earth. I forget what the name of the documentary is on Netflix. He narrated one.
I know what you're talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
Hey, I couldn't go to sleep because I was so intrigued by everything he was saying. I was like, he's got an intriguing voice. This is keeping me up. This is an upper. This is not a downer. I need a downer right now.
That's a good one.
Hey, man. We got Bears breaking news today as the Bears did hire their defensive line coach and their linebacker coach today. And listen, some interesting hires to say the least. Now, the linebacker coach one, not so much. Some definite history there with who they've added as they go out. And by the way, I do want to preface this because we're talking about a D-lines coach as well. Richard Smith is the linebackers coach that has been added. We did a video talking about Bill Johnson as the defensive line coach. Apparently that role was changed.
Yeah.
So it was falsely reported, I guess, and he was hired as a defensive assistant in some other capacity. So he's not the D-line coach. So we are going to be talking about the D-line coach again. So if you come in here and you're like, Didn't we hire this guy already?
We doubled down.
But new linebacker coach Richard Smith's son, Travis, just left the Bears after 3 seasons, which means that we had to go out and add a brand new coach. And they bring in Richard Smith.
Nice.
There you go.
Not mad at it.
Son goes somewhere else, and they bring in Richard Smith. So, what are you going to do? Lot of history there. Again, development. We've talked about this. A lot of names that the Bears have brought in. Just good names that have been a part of the NFL for a long time, that have that je ne sais quoi, as you will. He's been a part of the Denver Broncos team and has been the assistant linebackers coach. He was the linebackers coach for the San Francisco 49ers from 97 to 2002, linebackers coach for the Detroit Lions from 2003 and 04, defensive coordinator for Miami in 05, DC for Houston 06 to 08. Linebackers coach. He knows linebackers, boys.
Okay, I was about to say we got a guy who knows what he's doing.
Running theme there, yeah.
That was the point of all of that. That's why I went through that list. And this is what I love about this, right? Because people will see that and be like, "Oh, this guy can't keep a job." Might just be on a staff that doesn't end up sticking around. Doesn't mean it's all about him. But like, when I look at your resume, and at a certain point, you tried to do more, right? He did the DC thing. Miami, 05. Is that might be is that Saban? That might be Saban.
Is that next year in Miami?
2005 might be Saban.
Check it.
Somebody double check that for me.
Check
Doesn't work there. Tries it again in Houston.
2005 to 2006. Yes, sir.
There you go.
That's Saban. Tries it again in Houston. Doesn't work out in Houston. There a couple of years. Staff gets fired. Let me go back to what I know. Linebackers coach. Actually gave it another go. Was down in Atlanta as the DC. 1 season. Nope. Let me get back to what I know. So good to have that there. A lot of experience. A lot of linebackers have come through. You talk about development. You talk about knowing what you're seeing. And me and JC had this conversation about him. About how they're kind of building the defense out. I want my offense innovative and young and new so that you're coming up with things for defense. Defense is a simple game. Defense, rush and cover. Now, the intricacies of it are very difficult at times when you talk about football schemes and stuff like that. But even Dennis Allen said, if you don't have the coverage, the rush don't matter. If you don't have the rush, the coverage don't matter. You rush and cover. You're getting guys who just are, this is what I do, bare bones. This is how we're going to go out there and get it, and we're going to get after it that way. I like the older guys on the defensive side who are just like, yeah, I've been here 40 years. What are you doing? Are you stretching?
Yeah, we don't stretch. Get out there.
It's probably
but now,
but all right.
I think this is the one that may catch some people off guard because the Chicago Bears bring in a surprising and, for me, fascinating name as the defensive line coach. Remember, after initially, like I said, thinking that Bill Johnson was going to be that, and I got to figure out what he is. Like, I feel like Bill Johnson was just hired to be in the building. The Chicago Bears have gone out and hired Jeremy Garrett as their defensive line coach. Now, many of you may be sitting here going, who? And I understand that because I literally went, who? But Jeremy Garrett has some really good names attached to his resume. And when you look at what he's done in his time, of course, listen, if you want to make a little connection here after yesterday's video, we start off with the fact that he worked with Myles Garrett after his rookie year. And Myles Garrett went from being a 7-sack guy to having one of the best seasons of his career with 16 sacks and 33 quarterback hits. Now, he was the assistant D-line coach in Cleveland when he was there. So maybe you don't want to give him the total credit there. I can understand that fully. Right? Assistant, what's he doing? Maybe he's just getting a coffee. Maybe he's just stretching guys out. You never know, right? But he does go get the job at Liberty after that, after seeing what his impact was. And in his first season at Liberty, he got their sack numbers up to 45 sacks from 37 sacks the season before, adding basically 8-9 more sacks. He then was promoted again as he gets the job at Auburn. Now, Auburn, look, they're going to get dogs in there. They had 26 sacks. They went to 31. Maybe your conclusion there is it's Auburn, bro. They got people that can sack the quarterback all day. The tackles for loss is where I point my attention here. While the sacks do increase, 66 tackles for loss went up to 83 tackles for loss the next season. And then when the Jaguars bring him in as their defensive line coach this past season, now the defensive line on the Jaguars was not the problem. There was a lot of other problems on that team because you saw Trayvon Walker set his career high this 10 and a half sacks, and also the team had 83 tackles for everywhere he goes. There is an improvement. Everywhere he goes, there is an improvement. I like this because, again, just like I talked about with Richard Smith, defensive line coach, defensive line coach, defensive line coach. What are you doing with the defensive line? I don't care what he does with the whole defense. The Jaguars defense suck. You want to know why? The DBs couldn't cover me, Kid, and JC.
Doggone right. Get a couple touchdowns.
Defensive line aspect of this, I love this hire of Jeremy Garrett. Boys, what do you think about the hire?
I like the fact that we are actually I'm looking at everything you just ran off, and you got people who are familiar with others in the room. So Garrett having some familiarity with Allen is really good, and him having the style, at least having the same style that Allen wants to actually teach and implement here, having an attack defense. Well, guess what? Garrett has actually specialized in doing that. And so it's one of those things where, again, we got to see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
This looks great on paper. I like the fact that we're moving. We're now, again, like we mentioned yesterday, stepping into the big boy leagues when it comes to having a team. But at the same time, it's like, hey, now we know that even if we get mediocre results, I think we all feel confident saying, hey, we got the right guys who put people in place. And maybe this is something that we have to, watch how it builds and develops over several years as opposed to just this one. So I'm actually happy to see that at least we've got the foundation started and we're slowly starting to build and solidify things.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, PK and Pat. I like the cohesion. Most importantly, and I'm gonna sound like a broken record because I've mentioned throughout this whole hiring process, everything you continue to see is just the experience, the amount of years that each and every person that's being brought in under Johnson's choices or decision, and if it obviously Ryan Poles as well, they have experience in that role that they're coming into. When you even go back to a guy like Eric Bieniemy, a lot of times he's failed at interviews for trying to go for different positions, trying to, go up to head coach or whatever the case may be. But as running backs coach, you have no qualms with him because he's experienced, he's connected to players that have been really successful in the league, some of them legends. You can say that about a lot of these guys that they've hired. Legendary, drafting evaluations, like guys that have been put in a position to make other players and make their team successful. And so that's the running theme here is that you have experience, you have winners, you have people that have come from good backgrounds, good trees, whether it be Sean Payton's tree or somebody else's tree. Like the trees are pretty strong. The branches are there. So, that's what I love the most is that we're building and we can call it what did Ringo call it, the Monstars. We're building the Monstars. Bro, this coaching staff is looking good, and I love it. It's not just a sarcasm, but obviously it's on paper. Now we want to see in the future going forward how it will look, effectively putting it on the field.
I think it was funny, right? Because I was re-listening to the podcast yesterday, and we were kind of going at it about the me and Joel really about Ryan Poles part of this, and how he hasn't built up the team to this point, how he has missed on so many things, how Flus is such a major knock for him, how he hasn't addressed the offensive line. And I was listening back and I was like, I stand on all of that. But I agree with the idea of aligning him with Ben Johnson. And I didn't say this yesterday because we were going at it, and sometimes you forget stuff when you debating Joe. He's like, I just want to punch him. I'm kidding. While my expectations will not raise above 8 games this season, I would be very surprised if this coaching staff fails. Like, that's the kind of coaching staff you built. My expectations are low because I'm a jaded Bears fan. And you're not going to get me to buy into it again. I've seen this. I've seen you spend money. I've seen you go out and add coaches. I've seen you say, we're going to do all of these things in the offseason. Everybody's attaching Trey Smith to the Bears. I saw somebody, I don't know who it was. Somebody asked Trey Smith today, like, are you going to sign with the Bears next season? I was like, he's preparing for a Super Bowl, guys.
What the heck is you talking about?
Can
I get past this game already?
I saw it on Twitter. I was like, who's asking this question? But the big thing, like I'm looking at how they're putting this coaching staff together, and not to say that I think guys are just going to come, but I think guys will want to come and work with this. That was a crazy pause between that. And want to work with this, coaching staff. I think that guys will want to be a part of this, what this coaching staff could build because of the names that are there. And I think that this coaching staff has enough guys, like I keep saying, with skins on the wall, that there's going to be development in pieces that we have called out, that I have called out, the Kid and JC have called out, that haven't played well. Like it would be so surprising to me if this coaching staff failed. Like we've seen staffs fail in the past.
It'd be go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and it was actually back to your point, PK. I'll be honest with you. I think in its infancy stages, maybe okay, we get a little PTSD and say, okay, we're not gonna go for 10, 11, 12 wins as far as a prediction. Maybe we do, top out at 8. Maybe that's the ceiling for this upcoming season. Maybe we do go 10, 11, 12 and make it to the playoffs and go far. We don't know. But I think overall, when like you mentioned, PK, when the longevity, when you see this coaching staff kind of mesh and continue to get better and better year after year, because like I said yesterday, I don't think any of these guys are going anywhere. They're not going to be quick to try to look for other jobs. They've already been there, done that. You've got coaches and head coaches on this squad, Dennis Allen specifically, and so this staff is going to be here together. They're going to gel together. They're going to grow together. So even though individually they have all this experience, I think the more and more the experience in the years come as them being a staff together, I think you'll see the team get better and better. And so even if we have the infancy year of 8 wins, I think looking forward, it's going to be very successful.
I think and to piggyback off what you just mentioned, I think winning cures all, and that in this league, in this era that we live in. We have to get away from the microwave, success. Nothing's really overnight. And although we've had examples in the league and league history of people being able to totally overhaul their roster and things of that nature, the most recent example is still the people in our division, which are the Lions. When Dan Campbell got there again, they went from 3-13 to 9-8. That's kind of where we are. We are a 4-win team. I'm expecting 8-9 wins. That will be double our win total of last season. But along the way, what am I expecting? I'm expecting to see all of our key pieces developed and to really, in a handsome way, really grow in a sense of now we can definitely see if Caleb is our guy, which I already think he is. We can definitely see, what what Rome can do. We can definitely see all of those things. I'm expecting the same trajectory. That still took them 4 years to get to the point where now they got coaches flying off the shelf now because of how well they're developed. That still was a 4-year process.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to our Breeze Nation and just Chicago period, you have to be patient with this. You have to be patient and realize that, hey, we finally got the right guys in the building. Now let's see what the product can look on the field and allow them to make the adjustments game over game, season over season. And ultimately in 4 years, where are we going to be? That's what I'm looking forward to.
The one thing I will say, though, is you kind of get a little bit of a jump start because you are poaching, right? You're taking from guys that have already been a part of I know Dennis Allen can coach a great defense and has had a defense that has helped him win a lot of games. Okay, come over here. We got some pieces in place. You got to make them better. Also, we're going to get you some defensive linemen. Myles Garrett. We're going to get you some solid defensive linemen added to this thing. So I don't know if you start off in the 3-13 spot with Ben Johnson, but I do agree with you. The NFL is not an easy place to win. Like if the Bears went 9-8 this season after having a 5-win season, I'd be like, great, we're moving in the right direction. First year. Now you can't go 9-8 and then go 7 and 10. Yeah, I mean, like you can't start going the other direction. The continuous growth of his time in Detroit is where it's at. 3 and 13, 9 and 8, 12 and 5, 15 and 2. Now, maybe this year they take a step back the other direction because of all of the changes and how long it's going to take for things to get there. But I love the fact that you kind of have this coaching staff already in place that seems like it's got the pieces to make things a little bit quicker of a jump start. And you're not starting off in the talent level where Detroit was. Detroit basically acquired all of that talent as things came along. So, by the way, I'm sorry, JC. It happened very fast.
Dang it.
Here we go. Oh, man.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
That man's about to work up a whole sweat right there.
It happened fast. We only 800 people in the chat. Shout out to y'all for tuning in and showing love, man. If you have not done so, hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. We probably get a phone call about that one.
Hey, Pat, 1 second, just before we get too far away from it. I know we have other topics to get to, but Baki did mention that Buccaneers assistant Mike Greenberg has withdrawn his name from consideration for the Jags, which means that the chances of Ian Cunningham getting that job have increased.
Ooh, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you. If Ian hasn't taken that job yet, does he want it?
Duval. You don't want to be with that dude.
Hey, speaking of skins on the wall, I'm telling you, dog, he looked like he wears skin. He's wearing people's skin. Now you gotta watch that guy.
Wow.
Primetime podcast says somebody get JC a Diet Coke.
Yeah, you ain't lying.
Whoa, wait a minute now. That's a jug.
That's a jug of water.
Nah, man. I just feel like if you want that, wouldn't you have taken that job already?
Yeah.
Like
it was there for you.
They've called him back. I think this is his third time. Like this is his third interview, I should say, that they want him to come back on. Why 3 interviews? Like, nah, bro, you getting 2 and a maybe. Like you getting 2 and an answer. That's what. Maybe it's just me. Papa Duda said, problem is a lot of Bears fans been waiting, and we getting old. I'm 37. I want to see something. Getting, come on, dog. You got to.
Yeah.
I don't know what getting impatient is. That's something different. That's something completely different than Papa Duda. And I'm pretty sure that's not legal in 4 states.
Man, wow.
Appreciate y'all for rocking with us as always, man. I do want to ask this question to the chat. I want kid trying to push forward.
I'm trying to get through that.
I want to ask this question to the chat. I want to ask this question to you guys here, man, because we had the conversation yesterday about Myles Garrett. And I think it's a valid conversation. Myles Garrett requests a trade. We know what it's going to cost. It's going to be very high as far as draft compensation. You're going to have to pay Myles Garrett $34-35 million a year to be a part of this franchise, probably. But Myles Garrett is freaking Myles Garrett, right? It's very different. Yep. But if you're willing to make the commitment to Myles Garrett, would you be willing to go all in on another direction where you're still spending high draft capital, but maybe you don't have to pay as much? And there's 2 options that I think are very interesting. Number 1 right now for me is the man, the myth, the legend, Max Crosby. Now, Max Crosby has been left over there basically just
to die.
I mean, he's Mac, right? Hey, boy, would you do a Mac trade for Max? Would you Mac for Max is what I'm asking here, basically. Because Max Crosby, now, he is 27 years old.
Now, this is a Khalil Mack trade here.
The price tag is probably still going to be very, very similar. But the money more than likely will be a little bit different for a Max Crosby, just because of the fact that he's not Myles Garrett, pretty much. Like, I'm not saying you're going to get him for $20 million, but you might be spending a little bit less. Max Crosby right now also is on a 2-year deal. So he's got $22 million this year. He's got $18 million next year, and then you could renegotiate in that 2026 season for the future here, and maybe you get him up to, at that point, if he's still that dog, you work some things out cap-wise to retain him, but it gives you a little bit more time to work with versus Myles Garrett, who, to me, him trying to get out feels like, I don't like them void years on that contract, dog. Y'all need to give me this guaranteed money. All his guarantees are basically up.
Are we saying that the draft capital, as far as what we trade for, is the same as well? Because he's younger?
Because he's 27, you're probably coming off of a couple of first-round picks.
Ooh, a couple? I thought you can get away with maybe one and a two.
Hey, JC, I know you have I know you got a much better breakdown for this one, but I'm gonna tell you this: I'm against both of them. I'm gonna tell you why. One of the things, as you all know, I've always stated on this show that if I'm gonna be in sports, I want to be a GM somewhere one day. Like I actually want to do that, right? The more and more I dig into why people make certain moves, the more and more I realize how much we don't really know about sports, right? I say this: the worst thing you can do for a new coaching staff is to hamstring them with big contracts and a lot of money going out to one or two people. It's one of the worst things you can do. So in this particular case, while I understand, hey, it's Max Crosby, this, that, and the other, we have so many, like let's be for real. Our defense with better coaching is a top 5, top 10 defense. Without Myles Garrett, without Max Crosby, we're a top 10 defense. Would you agree?
Without them,
not with the pressure that you were getting last season. I mean, you couldn't stop the run by the end of the season at all. Teams literally went run the football. Yeah. The Arizona Cardinals ran for 200 plus yards on you, and they can't run the football.
Hey, like, I totally get it. So I'm not saying we don't need to get any protection, but I would say, like, for the most part, we could fill that void and do better. But even with that deficiency, we were a decent defense. At one point, we were considered
top 10. They didn't give up a lot of points. I mean, the worst scoring game that we gave up was it the Minnesota game? No, was it the Detroit game? The second Detroit game?
And that's a Detroit team that set the most points per game in the league.
In the league offense. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. So like at this particular point
is our worst game last year.
So at this particular point, it's like, hey, I feel like we need to make sure that we have enough capital to really buy into what Ben Johnson's vision was, which is it's a quarterback-driven league. We need to make sure everything sets up our quarterback for success. The one thing Jared Goff has that we don't have is he can nap in his pocket. Caleb can't see that. He ain't seen that yet. So I want to make sure we have all the resources for that first, and then invest on that side. That would be my priority, and that's why I'll be against both of those moves. Although I agree, big moves, big names. If we were a little more solidified on offense, I'd say go for it. But I don't feel like we are, so I reserve judgment for that.
I'm actually going to agree with you, because the more I think about it, and I have to give credit to, I believe Baki in the chat said, when you get a guy like a Myles Garrett, you get a name even like Max Crosby. I think they're in the same tier if we're talking about some of the best edge rushers in the league. Max had some really good seasons. I'm talking about his consistency. No, I know Myles is up there probably in a league of his own. I'm not going to sit here and say that 14, 15, 16 sacks a season is insane. But getting even Max Crosby, Max Crosby, I feel like is a way now.
Yeah, bring him on in. That's the Packers if we get Max or Myles. I ain't gonna lie to you.
And Detroit, they'll all be crying. But like for me, that would be the ooh ah move. The oh, look at us, look at the the shiny move where it's almost even equivalent to when we got Khalil Mack. We said when we got Khalil Mack, the defense was Super Bowl ready, but the offense was nowhere near Super Bowl ready. They weren't even playoff ready. We're going to be put in that same situation if we're putting too much money into a position that is not the priority. I think the most money that we need to spend is on offensive line. And if we're trying to get somebody like a Trey Smith, where he's going to cost maybe 25 per, that should be the biggest contract we're pushing out for this offseason. As much as I want to sit here and say, yes, I would love a Myles Garrett, he's going to get 30 whatever per season. That's just too. It's too forwarding right now. It's too forward right now. We're going to lose focus, and I feel like we're really focus right now as an organization.
Yeah.
We got all the right guys on the coaching staff, brand new. Like, we need to continue to focus on the right things. The next priority, the next step is getting these trenches addressed on the offensive side. Then when you get that addressed in the free agency period, then okay, we'll go after somebody like you even mentioned, maybe a Josh Sweat. You know, if we have to go for a second tier guy just to start for this year, yeah, then we'll go for that. But I'm not putting all of my marbles into one guy again, because we saw how that happened. It looked good. It was fun. We were all talking about how fun Khalil Mack looked, but it didn't get us anywhere in the long run.
But again, I go back to why didn't it get us there, right? What do we think? And I think this goes into, you know, our evaluation of Caleb Williams. What's Caleb Williams look like with an offensive line? I had everybody screaming at me yesterday. It was like, look at the team. If he was on Jaden Daniels' team, he'd be Jesus Christ. I was like, all right, okay, I get it. But, you know what I mean? Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball.
Are you telling me?
You telling me Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball? But like, no, like to me, you know, here's my thing. Here's what it comes down to me. How much does Jalen Johnson improve in Dennis Allen's defense with a pass rush? How much does Tremaine Edmonds improve with a pass rush? How much does TJ Edwards improve?
Yeah.
We saw it last year. The pass rush showed up with all of a sudden Tremaine Edmonds snatching balls out the air, lighting mugs up, coming across the middle, because like now all of a sudden it's like, oh, I got pressure. I can do my job. Again, is he making too much for him to be doing nothing without it? Sure, that's a different conversation. But you see how the defense elevates when you have that. On the flip side, how good is DJ Moore if he's got time to run a route? How good is Rome Odunze if he's got time to get downfield? How good is Caleb if he's got time to get him the football? How good is DeAndre Swift? Y'all know I don't want him, but how good is DeAndre Swift if he got holes opening up in front of him? I'm not saying solely invest in one piece. And I think that's what people hear when I say you go after Myles Garrett if you have the opportunity to, or in this situation, right, you go after a Max Crosby. What I'm saying is, if I'm spending money on my football team, I am very much okay with 80 million of it being invested in the trenches. Montez is making what, 20, 25? How much is Montez making? What's Montez's contract?
That's a good question. Hold on.
I might be too high on that. I feel like Montez might be a little under.
I feel like it's
Montez contract is 25. No, 24 million annual value. He signed a $20 million signing bonus, so 24 and a half. So you got 25 there. If you're paying 35 or if you're getting again 25 right for Max Crosby, however you work that contract out, 28, 30, you know what I mean? I got $50 million invested in my defensive line.
Yeah.
That means now I look at the other side of the ball and I got 40 million this year probably invested in my offensive line. Most of my money's in my trenches. If your trenches are set, look at these teams around the league that have their trenches set. You can make anything work. Muggs is sitting there talking about how have the Packers been able to find these guys for years? The trenches are set. How have the 49ers been able to throw 17 quarterbacks out there and find receivers at every turn? How's Jordan Mason a good running back? Because he's got, if I run him off tackle to the left side, there's a monster over there that kills people in front of him.
You know, the one thing I will say is just based off the hire that we have for the D-line, his history with working with young talent.
Yeah.
Dennis Allen, obviously his history with working with talent on the defensive end. I wouldn't be surprised if we went veteran on the O-line, spinning a bag in that instance, and tried to draft for D-line. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, because realistically, our defense is much further along than our offense. And with that being the case, I saw this comment. I want to address this briefly. Like, it's not nothing that we've done in the last week and even moving forward is going to be conservative. If you go out there and you get Trey and you spin the bag to get him, you get with Dahlman. I hope I pronounced his name right. You spin the bag and try to grab him. None of that's conservative. On top of a complete overhaul of your organization, we're no longer in the conservative space anymore, right? Everything has been swinging for the fences, but you still have
big money.
Yeah, you still have to be strategic with this, right? And the one thing I said it last season, I doubled down on it this season. This is about getting your offense going.
100%.
Because that's the modern NFL. If you have a high-powered offense, if we look like the Bengals, I'm not saying just hypothetically, if you look like the Bengals, I'm using them as an example because that offense high-powered, that defense trash. But you had faith that team could go somewhere. You had faith that they were one piece of. We're not that bad.
That offensive line, not that offensive line. That's why they didn't go nowhere. Joe Burrow was looking up like, please. But see, this is what I mean. This is what I mean. Like, we have this conversation, and then we'll get comments like this. Why are we talking about Myles Garrett? Has the offensive line been addressed? I need y'all to change y'all brain from or to and. That was Ryan Pohl's problem last season. I can go out and get wide receiver, or I can get offensive line. No, you could have you put an and in there, right? What's the old song? Conjunction junction. And but no, they'll get pretty far. Go to and go to that first rail car. Conjunction junction. What's your function? And you can get Myles Garrett and address the offensive line. That's why, to me, and like if you're telling me this is an offseason of, wow, you spent a lot of money on the offensive line, what are you going to do with your outside pieces? I'll figure that out. You want to know why? When's the last draft a wide receiver didn't come out? When's the last draft a great DB didn't come out? You find them pieces. You want to talk about running backs? You want to talk about linebackers? You want to talk about, some of those are not running backs, but like you want to talk about when's the last draft a good running back didn't come out in the 5th round? Let me know that. Anyway, no, you want to talk about linebackers, right? Finding linebackers sometimes can be a little tough in the draft. You want to talk about, finding, great offensive linemen consistently in the draft, finding a great left tackle. That's a little bit harder, but for the most part, I can always find a wide receiver. I can always find a DB. So I am fine focusing my money in these trenches and letting a lot of people's fan favorite names get up out of here unless you're elite at your job.
What Chaz mentions is legit though. It's not about the money. It's about the picks you give up to get into the conversation. The money is not the issue. I'm not worried about the trade-off. Money to get them. The trade-off is, hey, what picks do you want? Because apparently the Browns GM is like,
He's saying he ain't trading them. Hey, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think Myles Garrett put that out, and they was finna be like, "Come on, Myles, we knew this was coming. Just come negotiate the contract."
Yeah, he about to get that guarantee money. like, why wouldn't you? But if he really does hit the market, how much is he going to cost? That's the thing. It's not about the end. You're right. You can do both. If they were both free agents, you can sign all of them. Yes, you can. But they're not free agents. What the other ones are.
The offensive line is free agents.
No, I'm saying Myles is not a free agent. Myles is going to cost you 2, maybe 3 picks. It deserves two first for sure. Yeah, he deserves it. Like they want that. It's what you give up in that area that allows you to then build the rest of your team out is what I'm worried about. And that's why it's a no for me, because I don't know how much that is. And I'm expecting it to be more than Myles Garrett more than Khalil Mack, because he's a better player than
much better player.
He will.
He was older than when you got Mack.
But he's still a better player.
Oh, yeah, easily. Yeah. Somebody was trying to argue with me the other day. They were like, it wasn't even Joel. Who was it? It was somebody was in the comments, and they were like, this dude's trying to argue Khalil Mack now versus Myles Garrett now. Like, that's not even a fair comparison. I was like, Khalil Mack ever versus Myles Garrett right now is not a fair comparison.
That's true. That is true.
And by the way, Khalil Mack's a Hall of Famer and is amazing.
Yes.
Myles Garrett is one of the greatest pass rushers we have ever seen in our lives.
Ever graced the NFL. Yes. That's how good it is.
People forget that there's levels to this.
It's levels to it. Bro, listen, it's right. Peanut Tillman's going to get in the Hall of Fame, right? And then there's Deion Sanders up there.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, that's true.
Look, what's old boy that's in that's on the Bengals, right? Or not on the Bengals. That's on Jonathan Allen, right? Jonathan Allen's a phenomenal player on Washington. Jonathan Allen's a phenomenal player over the middle. His career may warrant, I don't know if it will, he got to do a lot more winning, but his career may warrant with how much he has been able to get through that line, some Hall of Fame consideration later on down the line. And then there's Aaron Donald sitting there.
Yeah, he ain't Aaron Donald. Yeah, not at all. Not at all.
You know
There's
what I mean?
levels.
Like
There's levels.
that's kind of where I look at where I'm like, yes, there are other great players. And that's why I wanted to do this segment. There's other great players that I think you can go get and you should be looking at.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not Myles Garrett. And so he's at the top of my list of anybody if I was to look at anybody. I do want to talk about this before we move on to this next topic, and then we got to finish it out talking a little bit more Bears football. But since we're talking about the possibility of moving some draft capital, what if you had to move some of this draft capital and not pay somebody $25 to $30 million? Would you be interested in still moving high draft capital? Now, you may not have to give up. You probably got to give up the 10th pick, actually. And maybe future second, maybe something in this draft, a first and a third in this draft, whatever it is. But to move up and go get Mr. Carter, you're probably going to have to get into the top 5. Little Abdul Carter action, do something for you?
Tell me where you been.
Probably going to have to move up to get into the top 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're still giving up the draft capital. And this is my thing. It's if you feel that you're willing to give up the draft capital to go get one of those big name pass rushers, right? Abdul Carter looks like some of those big name pass rushers that we want to go after.
A dog.
He looks like an absolute monster. And if you're willing to give that capital up, would you be willing to give it up knowing that the price tag you're paying is, what would he probably 5th pick? He's probably getting, what is that now? What's Caleb making? Caleb making 10 mil?
Yeah.
How much Caleb making? What's that 5th pick? See, because it's all slotted. Caleb's got a 4-year, $39 million deal. So you're probably talking about paying him, I don't know what the 5th pick is, but
how
probably
much of that was
$30 million.
The signing bonus?
You said what?
Did that include the signing bonus?
That I believe does include the signing bonus. Here, let me see. Let me pull it up.
22.
Signing bonus was like 20 something. Yeah, I remember him shouting that out. Yeah.
Yeah, that does include the signing bonus because his base is like $960,000. His signing bonus is where the money hits.
He's definitely not making more than Caleb. I would say 8 or 9 mil per, maybe around that range.
Well, Caleb's making his signing bonus. He's not making more than Caleb. So signing bonus is 25. Average salary is 9. So the contract terms is essentially $40 million over 3. He's probably around 30. Would you be interested in doing something like that, saving the money, but spending the big draft capital to go after a player like that?
That goes to my point I made earlier. I'm willing to draft the defensive trenches and go in the offensive for offense going in free agency, kind of like what Eli just mentioned here. I would do that. Realistically, I would do it because like you mentioned, was it the first our 10th pick? Our 10th overall, and then what? Maybe a 3rd.
You're probably moving a 1st and a 3rd in this year's draft. I would assume you're probably moving some because you're moving from, and it depends on how the points fall and all of that stuff, you know. But you're moving
up
7 spots probably. I mean, you might have to get top 3. You might have to get top 3 or 4.
If Ian leaves, I'm doing it.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Because it's almost like we didn't have it at all anyway. So I like that thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking. That 3rd pick that we could potentially get if he leaves, you put that in the deal, go up 5 spots. Yeah, but I here's my only wrench I want to throw in there though, because I see a lot of people in the chat saying this. What if this other person could potentially fall and he addresses the interior as well in the defensive line? We're talking about the trenches. I love Mason Graham. From Michigan. Dude is a monster. Dude is a freaking monster. You put him with Javon Dexter, that is the 2 interior guys you need for the next 10 years, hopefully. So even if we don't go for it, Abdul Carter, perhaps somebody like him could fall. I know he's mentioned in the top maybe 7 or 5. But man, yeah, I would say I would only move up 5 if we get the assistant GM to leave and we get those 2 third round picks. Then I'm throwing that 3rd round pick in a trade and just moving up. And that also means that free agency, we've been successful in getting no linemen. That also is a caveat as well.
Can we pivot this a little bit? why
Let's do it.
trade up for Abdul when you could trade up for Mason?
Well, I'll be honest.
Mason
Abdul
will
is
be-
probably
Abdul is here's it fits what the Bears have done.
yeah. I would
It
probably
fits
get
going
Abdul.
after the best. You went after the best. You spent the money. You spent whatever it costs to go out and get the best. If you're going to spend to get the best, and in this situation, right, you're not signing somebody that you're trading over, right? So you're using draft capital to get higher, but to go get that guy. You sign him to a contract, you're still able to invest a ton of money into your freaking offensive line and stuff like that. But he's just, I mean, Abdul Carter is for lack of a better term, Myles Garrett of this draft. He's the monster. He's the dude that you just like, okay, the NFL is never can't miss.
So,
but
not to be lazy on the comparisons,
like Montez Sweat.
So not to be lazy on comparisons, honestly, PK, because I know he's from Penn State, wore the same number, I think, as the elite guy on defense, wears 11. He's compared to like Michael Parsons, but like an even faster version of him if you watch him play. So that's what you could potentially be getting.
So let me ask you this, and just the cost to move up to some people have them projected top 2 for Abdul.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot. You from 10 to 2 is a lot.
It's a long way.
It's a long way.
You got to be okay mentally giving up the capital for one of these guys that's already done it to say, yeah, but we finna get 10 years of him.
Mm-hmm.
I got Mason Graham going expected between 6 and 7. 10 to 6 and 7 versus 10 to 2 or 3 is a whole different ball game.
Man,
Mason Graham, Mason Graham is that middle piece, right? Like he's on the defensive interior, and he's a monster too. But I don't think he's not Abdul Carter. Again, it is having the conversation on would you want to go Max Crosby or would you want to go Myles Garrett? It really is that conversation. Both of them are great. Both of them are monsters. But Abdul Carter feels like if you're going to go big, if you're trading draft capital, like go big. Go get the dude that you ain't got to worry about it.
I'm against spending too much and hamstringing your new staff. I'm against that because these kids are getting better every season. Every year there's somebody that's coming out. I'm not saying that, Carter is not going to be who we project him to be, but like you mentioned, there's always going to be some guy in a particular draft. I don't know if we necessarily need to spend that much draft capital potentially to move up to 2-3 when you could get, let's just say in car terms, if I could go from a Mercedes to a Lexus, I'm still in luxury.
Yeah, but you know what it is. You know what I mean? Like, hey, everybody knows. What was it? The Chrysler looked just like a Phantom until a real Phantom pull up.
Yeah, but that would be like me trying to fix my needs in a 3rd round. If I tried to get a 3rd rounder to do what these first rounders are doing, that's that Chrysler to that Rolls Royce comparison.
Yeah,
we right there. Like we right there. Hey, listen, you cost a little more. It's a little more options, but like I'm still big balling in the parking lot with this. So like,
I think here's the thing that I'll say, and I ain't gonna lie to you. We was gonna get to all these other topics. It ain't gonna happen. But that's what we got the morning breeze for. Tap in with me and Jordan JC tomorrow morning.
There you go.
On the morning breeze. Also, if you are a Breeze member, I guess we can figure this out tonight. We're doing the Eye of the Storm tonight.
Oh, yeah.
If you are a Breeze member, tap in with me and P Kid for the Eye of the Storm tonight. That'll be live on YouTube, live on Patreon for our members. We got a lot to talk about. We got
thunderstorms on the soundboard.
We got a lot to talk about. We got trades out the wazoo. I just seen I don't know if V-Dog is factual on that. If Baki didn't throw it out there, so no disrespect V-Dog, but Baki's my guy. Said Chris Mannix says the Rockets are pursuing Kevin Durant ahead of Thursday's trade deadline. Phoenix, basically, by giving Bradley Beal the no trade clause, has no choice but to freaking trade either Kevin Durant or Devin Booker, or they gonna be in a really, really bad spot. It's going to be fun. Tap in with us on the Eye of the Storm tonight. For the Breeze members, a lot to talk about, and of course Super Bowl talk. You know what I mean, we're gonna talk some Super Bowl out here. But I think if this offseason has shown us anything, right, it's the difference in paying top dollar versus paying for good enough. Now, again, both of the draft is very different than paying for coaches. Both of these names are going to be good players. I love Mason Graham. The part of me that's very tingly is like, how can we figure out how to get both of these guys? You know what I mean? Like, I love Mason Graham's game. He is a game wrecker. He is that pressure up the middle. You pair him with Javon Dexter, and I think that he's an absolute freaking monster. By the way, you're still in the 4-3. But if I can get Abdul Carter 10 years out, am I going to look back and say Mason Graham had a great career? Abdul Carter is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL.
Depends on the success that they have on their teams. Myles Garrett is the let's just say it, one of the best or the best defensive player in the league. He plays for the Browns.
Yeah.
Well, that means I think that means the accolades aren't going to come to him, right? He's not going to really win Defensive Player of the Year or be as high in consideration for that, right? They're going to look at teams that are in winning situations. I think T.J. Watt. Did T.J. Watt get one? Now he has. Now, by the way, he's been so good, he's won one. But like you look at the winning situation, you go, okay, it's a Myles Garrett, it's a Deron Bland, it's a T.J. Watt, it's a all these other names. But no matter what, we do look at Myles Garrett and go, yeah, but he better. There's no question.
For sure. I don't care I don't care so much about if he's going to be individually better. I care about if the team's success and what we can do around him, is that going to translate to the end result that we want?
Yeah.
Because realistically, as much as Myles Garrett's cost, some team is going to jump out their body to go get him, and they're going to be hamstrung to try to build a team to compete for a Super Bowl. They really are. That's kind of the name of the game, and that's like the double-edged sword there. Really good, talented player comes with an expensive price tag. Are you betting your future or are you betting your present? Which one you going to bet? The Bears are not in a situation where I think you need to be betting anything for that type of player when we are finally getting the people who, what's the word? Development.
Yeah.
We're finally getting some people who can develop. We know we have the talent. We know we have the potential.
Yeah.
Let's see where this goes.
But I think that's the thing, though, right? If you have the development, you feel confident that, okay, we can get somebody in the second round next year. We can get somebody in the fourth round next year. That's going to turn into that guy that we thought maybe we needed in the second round here or the first round here, or because we can develop those pieces. It plays into it. And at a certain point, I think maybe I view the Bears a little different than most. I really do think your trench is away. And there's really quick ways for you to address your trenches in this draft. There's really quick ways for you to address your trenches via trade. There's really quick ways for you to address your trenches in free agency. Now, it has to work. But if we're sitting here at the end of this and Ryan Poles goes, I spent draft capital on either moving up to get Carter, going out and getting Myles Garrett or Max Crosby or whoever it is, heck, Trey Hendrickson, right? Like, there's a bunch of defensive names that are like, get me the heck out of here in the league right now. If you have that conversation, then you look at the other side and say, I spent money on Trey Smith. I spent money on Drew Dahlman and or Ryan Kelly. I used the draft pick to address some of the other pieces on this line as well. I don't have anything to say because at that point now it is just about go out and get the job done. Because on the outside, I don't know if like this season made people forget, DJ Moore is really freaking good. He's a number one wide receiver. There is Rome Odunze on this team. Cole Kmet, he ain't running away from nobody. In fact, he's probably running directly into him, but
he looks smart.
He is a really efficient tight end when you throw him the ball. I think 6 or 7 weeks into the season, like he had not dropped the football that Caleb Williams threw his way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So like you have those pieces there. On the other side, DBs are everywhere. Mm-hmm. DBs are coming out of the woodwork. Like you're not as far away as you think if your trenches are addressed. You're very far away when you're sitting there running out DeMarcus Walker. You're very far away when you're sitting there running out Austin Booker with 0 development. You're very far away when you've got Andrew Billings turning into an elite pass rusher, but now he takes a step back in the run game because y'all didn't change something, and all you keep saying is, well, it's really about us being on our run fits.
You know, the funny thing is I don't disagree with you at all. I just, I'm going to just chalk it up to my bias and how I view things.
Yeah.
I just feel really bad about that type of investment, especially on the defensive end when I saw my quarterback get sacked 60-something times.
Yeah.
Even if he takes credit for 50% of it, I still saw him hit the deck a whole lot, and I ain't like it. And so
I agree with that.
And that's where my thing is, and that's why it's like I'm sure you can do. I'm sure it's definitely an and situation, this and that. But I'm so focused on the first part that I can't even get to the and part. If I'm being honest,
you still on this. You just on this. We need this.
Hey, once we address this, I'm with you all the way.
And we can move forward. Yeah.
If we address this and don't address that, we're going to be having a very different conversation at the end of this season.
hey, listen, we can have a deep conversation about them guys on defense, but my offense needs to look good. That's all I'm saying.
Let's finish it out by addressing Football Candy Super Chat. Shout out to you. I kind of like this. Maybe we reserve the last 10 minutes of the show for the Super Chats if they don't fit kind of the topic we in on it. He said, off topic, but Sylvie made a point how the White Sox and Bulls rely differently on fan attendance, especially as they want to expand the UC plus CHSN. Would you consider advocating for fans to stop going to games? Well, the White Sox don't operate on fan attendance at all because
ain't nobody go.
Nobody's gone.
They're giving away cheap tickets too.
Bro, I've
cheap tickets.
First off, I'm not paying. Second off, if you are paying, you get them at the end of the season for like $1. And still, people are not buying the tickets.
Yeah.
They literally sell the tickets before the game for $1. People are not going. So fan attendance for the White Sox doesn't mean anything. For the Bulls, I do think fan attendance means a lot. But here's the thing at the end of the day. It's Chicago. And this is what I keep saying. You want people to basically, in the wintertime, do nothing. The Bulls is something to do. It's indoors. It's warm. It's cold out there, dog. You got to have something to do, especially, and I say this, a lot of the UC right now, if you go to a game, it's corporate. It's people in there that are bringing partners and different things like that. Yeah. So it's not like I think it's a very different world. I tell people I'm very in line with Sylvia in this. Fan how you fan. I like going to the White Sox game. I go to the White Sox games by myself because that's what I do in the summertime. That's what I did with my dad growing up. It's still what I want to do. I like going to the Bulls games because that's what I did with my dad growing up. That's what I want to do now. I'm going to the game.
I'm definitely.
I've gone to bad basketball teams my entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit in there, here and there. You got Kirk was like, oh, this is fun. You got Derek was like, oh, this is great. If Derek showed up, we couldn't even get tickets to a game. But like, I went to see Jamal Crawford play. We lost by a lot to Philly.
Dolly Boy Bugger Reach.
Hey, listen, March 29th. I'm going to see
who you going?
Yeah, I'll be back in town then. I'll be back in town. It'll be a week after. I'm going to see the Mavs versus the Bulls.
Oh boy. You going to see Anthony Davis? Or you might not see him.
Yes, I am. I hope he's ready. I hope
that's messed up. Why you do that now?
Hey, listen, the one thing about basketball, though, is you get to see legendary players. Oh, yeah, our team might be trash, but where else you going to get to see these players at this rate? I mean, the Bulls tickets aren't that expensive compared to, have y'all seen them Golden State tickets? Yeah, Golden State.
That's West Coast. You got to compare it to ones that's like in the Midwest. They expensive.
One championship.
Our tickets are more expensive than the Sixers. The Sixers have been to the playoffs.
That's true. Our tickets are more expensive than the Bucks, but I mean,
well, that's Milwaukee.
Though. Market to Chicago.
That's why I went Sixers. Like it's a different kind of price range with stuff like that.
Hey, listen, if I could just drive 30 minutes as opposed to 2.5 hours, I'll take that bet. I'm going to see them. I still like basketball.
Of course. Oh yeah.
Now, mind you, I do think it's harder to watch on TV now. This is gonna sound weird. In person is much better than watching on TV because I get so frustrated.
Yeah, it's still fun. It's still experience.
That's not weird. Because to me, I think like when you for me, baseball now is more enjoyable to watch on TV
Yes,
than when I
really?
go to a game. Because when I was
Really?
going,
don't know
because
about
when I go to games, as a kid, like it was like we going to the Sox game. That's what we doing today. It was an outing. Yeah, you get the family together, you out 5 hours. Like you spending time with the fam, you talking, the game is going right. Like in person, I would rather spend the time and be at a game for a long time. At home, I'm not watching 5 hours of baseball. Like I'm tapping out in the fourth, fifth, and sixth. I come back 2 hours, you in the seventh. I'm ready to punch somebody. I'm like, why is this game still going? Call it. Like it's great on TV. So like for me, I think that you look at certain, like I don't think that's surprising. Like I look at it very similar to how you look at it. In that same way, like basketball to me at home, I'm sitting there like, why the heck is Zach Edey pulling 6 3-pointers?
bro.
And then I'm in person and I'm like, look at that big man shooting the ball. I love it. No, I hate
TV
it.
makes you forget that these people are literally different than you. TV will make you think that some of these players look small. You get up in person, it's like, that's a big dude.
Yeah, that's
like,
giant.
That's a giant dude.
You know who got me that way, bro? I saw Kobe White walk past. And we sit pretty close. I saw Kobe White walk past. I'm like, what the what?
The tall dude.
Yeah, because on TV.
Kobe must be like, well, Kobe was like 6'4", but they list him at 6'6".
6'7". He's 6'7", 6'6",
6'6", 6'5", 6'6".
Bro,
Ain't every bit of it, because you'll stand up and be like, all right, but like that.
That's why do people get so surprised when he starts dunking the ball there? I'm like, dude, you do realize he can get up.
He got small calves, bro. He ain't got bunnies like that. Kirk Heinrich was 6'3",
6'4", 6'4", yeah.
Yeah, it was a surprise every time he dunked the basketball too, bro. Like,
that's true.
It's not the why, bro.
No, but to your point, though, I mean, if the tickets are $1, I'm going in person to a White Sox game. I mean, get me a Connie's Pizza, sit there and watch them lose.
Hold on, JC.
Well,
they got barbecue now.
Don't you tell me that.
Oh, they got meats. Oh, JC, they got the meats.
We have the meats. I'm there. I'm in person all the time.
I mean, UC got this.
Where did we go last time? It was like a bar area. Yeah. Did we have that last time we went?
Yeah, that was good.
Different section. Yeah. I'm going for the amenities, brother. I'm going for the amenities.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, no, we're not going to advocate for people not to go to the games, but like you said, fan how you fan, man.
Keep going.
Fan how you fan.
Fan how you fan, man.
Fan how you fan. Just like Bam's mom is on OnlyFans. So, fan how you fan. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do.
Link in the bio.
The fattiest man alive, Mr. P Kid. It's your boy Jordan JC back at it again. It's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. One love.
Out of nowhere.
He ran.
Out of nowhere slam.
Hey, I saw the comment. I'm like, yeah, he gonna get him.
RKO this man. RKO.
You never talk about the guy with the mic.
He said, LMAO, you got a white mom. I don't. She's very dark, actually. She's very dark. Got a white dad, though.
Hey, dog.
Also, why was that a joke? What kind of joke was that? Your mom's white.
What?
I made a joke about his mom sucking. Let's get out of here.
Hey.